Sad, elderly billionaire sits alone on Christmas Eve. For 5 years he sat at the same table, speaking to no one, grieving a son the world never really knew. Then a young boy and his mother asked to sit nearby, turning silence into laughter and loss into warmth. Days later, a quiet detail from the woman's past surfaced, one that connected her to his son in a way that made his final unfinished words suddenly terrifying. Before we go any further, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Now, let's begin. At 7:12 every Christmas Eve, the Harbor Light restaurant reserved the same window table even when the wait list wrapped around the block. It was a quiet kind of privilege. No announcement, no plaque, just a folded napkin, a single candle, and one chair left empty on purpose. Elias Mercer arrived alone as always, 70 years old, billionaire, the kind of name people whispered with a half smile like money could hear them. He wore a dark coat that still held a few snowflakes on the shoulders. He brushed them off with 2 slow swipes, then paused like he forgot what his hands were supposed to do next. The hostess leaned in. "Same table, Mr. Mercer." Her voice stayed gentle practiced. A couple near the bar noticed him and lowered their voices. "That's him," a woman murmured, craning her neck. "He comes once a year and just sits." Her date snorted. "Rich people love drama." A waiter carrying plates whispered back, "Nah, he lost his son. Same night 5 years ago. Car crash. He's never been right since." Elias sat. The chair across from him stayed untouched, pulled out slightly, like someone might still slide into it. He stared at it too long, then blinked hard and reached for his water, but his hand hovered and missed the glass by an inch. He corrected himself, tight-lipped like he'd caught himself doing something embarrassing. The staff moved around him carefully. No one asked if he wanted company. No one said sorry. They had learned that pity made him shrink. He ordered the same meal he and his son used to split. 2 forks arrived automatically. When the second one hit the table with a soft clink, Elias's jaw tightened. He kept a leather wallet on the table, not opened, just there. His thumb worried the edge of it again and again. Inside was a photo he never showed anyone. Him and his son in this same window seat, both smiling like the future was guaranteed. Near the kitchen door, the manager hovered, pretending to check the seating chart. She always did this on Christmas Eve, warning new staff. Don't bother him unless he asks. Elias's phone buzzed. A calendar reminder flashed. Call Ben at 8. His son's name. Still scheduled. Still waiting. He turned the phone face down without thinking now. Outside, the streetlights reflected off wet pavement. Families pushed in, cheeks pink from the cold, laughing too loud. Elias listened like he was trying to remember how laughter sounded up close. He checked his watch, not because he cared about time, but because the minute hand kept moving and it felt unfair. Then a small voice cut through the noise. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Elias lifted his eyes and the whole ritual cracked. The boy stood close to the table, hands clasped in front of him like he'd rehearsed the moment. He was small for his age, jacket a little too thin for December, sneakers damp at the edges. His eyes stayed on Elias, steady but careful, the way kids look at adults they do not fully trust yet. Behind him stood a woman early 30s, tired in the bones kind of way. She hovered, ready to pull him back, already apologizing with her eyes. "I told him not to bother you," she said quickly, her voice low. Elias didn't answer right away. The boy had asked a question, but it echoed oddly, like it had arrived late. "Sir," the boy repeated, softer now. "My mom says, Christmas isn't for sitting alone." A nearby table went quiet. Someone let out a short laugh that wasn't kind. A man muttered, "Kids say anything." Elias felt something twist in his chest, sharp and unwelcome. He glanced at the empty chair again. The space between the words and the silence felt too familiar. He cleared his throat. "What do you want?" The boy hesitated, then nodded toward the chair across from Elias. "Could we sit near you? Just near. Not at your table if you don't want." The woman's face flushed. "I swear he's not trying to get anything." "Well, Ove." Elias studied them, not the way his investigators did, just with his eyes. The woman's hand shook slightly as she reached for her purse. The boy leaned forward, protective without knowing it. He surprised himself. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the chair. "Both of you." The woman froze. "Are you sure?" Elias nodded once. The word felt heavy but right. They sat. The chair creaked under the boy's weight. A sound Elias hadn't heard in years. He flinched before he could stop himself. "What's your name?" Elias asked. "Caleb," the boy said. "My mom's Ruth." Ruth smiled politely, guarded. "Thank you. Really?" Conversation started clumsy. School snow. The boy talked too fast, filling gaps. Elias found himself answering, correcting details, even smiling once when Caleb described a failed science project. A waiter passed and whispered to another, "He's talking." Someone at the bar nudged their friend. "That kid's brave." Plates arrived. Elias pushed one toward Caleb without thinking. The boy looked at his mother for permission. She nodded. They ate slowly. The noise of the room softened around them. Elias noticed how Ruth cut her food carefully, how she counted bites, how Caleb pretended not to notice. Laughter slipped out of Elias, sudden and rough when Caleb beat him to a joke. When they stood to leave, the boy looked back. Elias watched them walk away, his smile fading into something thoughtful. That night, after the restaurant emptied, Elias made another call. The report arrived before dawn. Elias read it. Standing in his kitchen, coat still on, lights off, except for the glow from the tablet. He read it once, then again, slower like speed might change facts. Ruth Carter, 32. No criminal record, no spouse listed, no marriage license, no death certificate tied to her name. Address flagged twice for late mortgage payments. Utility shut-off notices. Private debts flagged under informal lenders. Predatory rates, dangerous names. A soft knock echoed in the quiet house. The housekeeper hesitated at the doorway, reading his face. "Coffee?" she asked. "No." Elias said too sharp. He softened it. "Thank you." Something about the missing husband bothered him. Not suspicion, absence. People left traces, even the careful ones. He invited Ruth and Caleb for dinner. The following week, not at the restaurant, at his house, framed it as gratitude, offered her temporary work, administrative help, no commitment. Ruth accepted carefully like someone stepping onto thin ice. That evening, Elias watched them arrive from the balcony. Caleb looked up at the house with open awe. Ruth's shoulders tightened. Dinner passed politely. Conversation stayed safe. Elias waited. After dessert, he set his fork down. Before anything continues, he said, voice calm, "I need honesty." Ruth stiffened. "About what?" "Your past, your husband." Caleb looked between them, confused. Ruth inhaled, long, steady. Then she spoke. She met her husband at Harbor Light. He was charming but private. Said he had no family. Called him an orphan. After Caleb was born, he insisted on returning every Christmas Eve. Same table, same time. Said it was a tradition from his father. Elias felt his chest tighten. The night he died, Ruth continued. He said he had something important to tell me. He never did. The date landed like a blow. Elias stood abruptly. The chair scraped loud against marble. "What was his name?" he demanded. Ruth said it. Elias saw red. "That's my son," he snapped. "My son died 5 years ago. He never had a wife, never had a child." Ruth's face drained. "I didn't know who you were." "Enough," Elias said. His voice rose. Staff froze. "You came here to exploit a grieving man using a child." Caleb shrank back, eyes wide. Ruth stood, shaking. "Leave," Elias said. Now they left in silence. No shouting, no scene, just footsteps fading. That night, Elias sat alone again. His phone buzzed with the same reminder. Called Ben at 8. He didn't turn it over. Sleep refused him. Elias lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Replaying the moment Ruth said the name, his son's name. The way it fell from her mouth without hesitation, not practiced, not cautious. He rose before sunrise and paced the hallway, bare feet cold against stone. The house felt too large, too quiet. Every framed photo became an accusation. Ben at 8 years old, Ben at 16, Ben at that same restaurant, laughing with a mouthful of food. I have something important to tell you. The words followed him like a cough he couldn't clear. By mid-morning, Elias led his lawyer. His voice sounded steady, rehearsed. He spoke of fraud, of manipulation, of legal protection. There was a pause on the other end. Elias, the lawyer said carefully, there's something you should know. The truth surfaced in pieces. Before his death, Ben had called, nervous, urgent, asked to register a woman and a child as family. Legally, quietly, he begged for time. He was afraid. Afraid of disappointing his father. Afraid of being erased. Elias sat down hard. The lawyer continued, he planned to tell you that Christmas. He never got the chance. The room tilted. Elias hung up and stayed still for a long time, hands gripping the edge of the desk. He had pushed his son away without ever knowing it. He drove himself to Ruth's address. The building stood half empty. A neighbor leaned against the railing, smoking. She moved, the woman said. Didn't say where. Looked scared. Elias searched quietly, relentlessly. When he finally found her, she opened the door. Already defensive, already tired, he spoke first. No accusations, no anger, just facts, confession, apology. Ruth listened without interrupting. Her hands trembled, but she didn't cry. When he finished, she exhaled slowly. He lied, she said. But now it makes sense. They agreed to a DNA test. Practical, controlled, something solid. While they waited, Elias saw Caleb often. Chess games at the kitchen table, museum trips, quiet lunches at Harbor Light, the boy swinging his legs under the chair his father once said. Staff whispered again. This time softer. He's smiling, someone said. Elias caught himself laughing out loud one afternoon. The sound startled him. When the envelope arrived, he didn't open it. I already know, he said quietly. Then he did. The paper shook slightly in Elias's hands. Not fear. Wait. Ruth watched him from across the room, arms folded, steady, but braced. Caleb sat on the floor, focused on lining up chess pieces, humming under his breath, unaware that his life was about to tilt. Elias read the first line, then the number 99.99%. He lowered the page without a word, his throat closed, and for a moment he pressed his lips together like he always had when emotion threatened to spill. Old habit, old armor. Ruth didn't rush him. She waited. She had learned patience the hard way. Elias finally looked at Caleb, really looked the way the boy frowned when concentrating. The familiar tilt of the head, the same hands, his son's hands. I should have known, Elias said quietly. Ben always did things halfway scared. Caleb looked up. Did I win? Elias laughed, a soft, broken sound. He knelt with effort and pulled the boy into a careful hug, awkward at first, then firmer. Caleb hesitated, then wrapped his arms around Elias's neck without question. From the kitchen doorway, the housekeeper wiped her eyes and turned away. That Christmas Eve, the table at Harbor Light held 3 chairs filled. The staff noticed first. No empty space, no extra fork. Bystanders whispered, gain, but this time the tone changed. That must be his grandson, someone said. Elias didn't correct them. He raised his glass, not in toast, just acknowledgement. Ruth caught his eye and nodded. Not gratitude. Understanding. The calendar reminder buzzed at 8. Call Ben. Elias deleted it. Later, when the restaurant lights dimmed and snow pressed against the windows, Elias realized something simple and unsettling. For the first time in 5 years, he wasn't counting minutes. He wasn't waiting. He was home. If this story reminded you that time does not wait and love should not either, take that lesson with you tonight. Say what matters while you still can. Hold the people you keep postponing.